think one of my all-time favourite cliches is the Australian groom who says, "Babe, just tell me what to wear, the time, the place, and I'll be there." But I'd also venture that it's happening less and less with modern weddings because more than ever, couples are working together to bring their celebration to life and are really taking pride in personalising the overall look and feel. Grooms and those who don a suit for a wedding are expressing themselves more and generally stepping away from cookie-cutter looks, which begs the question, where and how do you even start? Stephen Athanadoru is the Adelaide Showroom and Business Development Manager for made-to-measure tailor Oscar Hunt. They create and specialise in custom-made attire, personal and meaningful suiting and accessories for weddings, special events, and everyday business wear as well. Short story is, Stephen knows his stuff. So I dug deep, and then I dug some more to find out for you a step-by-step guide of how to find a suit style that you love, the percentage of bow ties versus long neck ties versus no ties, how to know if you should wear socks with your suit, the difference between a bespoke, made-to-measure and off-the-rack suit, if all the wedding party need to wear the same suit and what to do if you're not going for that look, and how traditional dress code expectations vary between countries and how you may need to create your very own personalised dress code to really communicate the vibe you're going for. So much goodness. Let's get into it. Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille and welcome to the Unbridely podcast. Hi, Stephen, and thank you for joining me on the Unbridely podcast.
Hello, Camille. Absolute pleasure to be here.
Tell us a bit about Oscar Hunt and about what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So Oscar Hunt has been around for, I reckon, just over 11 years now. It's originally a couple of high school mates wanted to bring made to measure to the Australian market. So they created Oscar Hunt. We've grown and we've got a showroom in Sydney, here in Adelaide, and we've just opened up Brisbane and Gold Coast with Perth and Canberra as well to come, which is really exciting. My job here, I'm the BD manager and the showroom manager here in Adelaide. It's really fun because I get to be a part of the entire process from start to finish with anyone that comes through, whether it be, guy getting a suit for work or if it's a groom trying to figure out what he's going to wear for his big day. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
And we need to acknowledge that right off the bat, Stephen, don't we? That not all grooms wear suits and not all suits are worn only by grooms.
100%. Yeah. I think especially since COVID, a lot of people are really, challenging the norm when it comes to attire for a wedding, which I think is really, really cool. I'm all for that. I think that it's really exciting to see people bring their personality and their character into what they wear. That's a big part of what Oscar Hunt is about. We don't want to change someone's character. We want to accentuate it. So that's, a little bit quirky or likes to have a bit of fun. Like we can bring that in with the clothing that we sort of design and help make.
We love that. That's so unbridely. So, leading on from that, Stephen, where does an engaged person start with working out what they're going to wear on their wedding day?
It's a really good question, and it's one that we get asked a lot. And one of my favorite things and questions I generally ask the couples that come through is it's got a lot to do with the venue that can really sort of help design what you can wear on the day. So, there are certain venues. If it's a very grand, quite a formal place, most people generally edge towards, that black tie, a little bit more formal. But if it's, a beautiful homestead that's a little bit more rustic, sometimes people they're the fun ones because you can do a bit of both. And that's again where character comes into it. So for those ones where there's no sort of blanket, this is what you should do because it's a very formal place. You can either dress it up or you can dress it down. And yeah, they're the weddings I love to do because it's not the cookie cutter black tie. So yeah, it's the venue is a big part of it. But I also think just the vibe that people want to bring to the wedding. Like, do you want your wedding to be extremely formal? Do you want your wedding to be fun and quirky? Do you want your wedding to be relaxed and like a party? Because that can really help us put together something that we know you're going to love. A big part of the first chat that I have with people, which we don't actually measure people, is to learn more about that person, about who they are, about what the vibe that they want their wedding to feel and bring, and the theme that they're hoping to bring to life. And then from that, we can sort of help guide people through that process, designing something. So yeah, it's character, theme, style, and vibe. Probably the four that I'd sort of put together and give people to answer. And that helps us construct what you should wear.
That's brilliant. So a lot of people are very hung up on the dress code thing because it used to be the social indicator, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
30, 40 years back, it was like, oh, we've got this dress code, you rock up wearing this. And it was all very black and white, so to speak. But are dress codes still a thing, Stephen?
I definitely think they are. Again, it comes down to what the couple is really hoping to put together on their big day. Some people, dress code is extremely important because they've just pictured in their minds, I want everyone to be in black and white. And if that's the case, that's wicked. Like, I love that look personally. I think it looks really cool, really classy, really tidy. But for others, they don't really care that much about it. And I don't think there's necessarily a rule anymore about, do I need a dress code? Should I be really strict with my dress code? I think it's really, again, up to what the couple wants to do. Like, if they want a super strict dress code, I actually work with the couples a little bit to help verbalize that, create it in a way that other people will understand. Because, for example, typical cocktail is actually a full suit, whereas cocktail, in Australia is a bit different. Cocktail in Australia, a lot of people think, oh, chinos and a shirt. So it's just making sure that we can verbalize what the couple is really trying to bring to life so that they can, put that on their invitation. So that if someone wants everyone in a full proper cocktail attire, we generally say formal cocktail because most people will come dressed wearing a suit versus straight cocktail or casual cocktail. There's just these little cues you can give people to help the dress code come to life.
So obviously we're going internationally with the podcast, Stephen. What I'm hearing from you, though, is that maybe European thoughts on one particular dress code versus the States versus Australia might be different. Could you, how hard is it for me to ask you? Can you give us a rundown of what you think would be a standard dress code, like is it white tie is like the most formal?
Yeah, very, very classic, I'll use the term old school because it's not something that, at least in Australia, we see a lot of. But yeah, white tie is probably that top of the formality scale. The white ties, tails and the full-on tailcoat, and black ties. I'll almost say black tie is almost a contemporary version of a traditional white tie because the suits are generally tuxes or dinner suits rather than the full tailcoat, which again, I think that the white tie is a little bit more, I wouldn't say European, I would even say more so towards the UK.
Because it's top hat, right?
It is top hat. Yeah, correct. They still do white tie in England. Like when you go meet the Queen, there are certain events that require white tie. But yeah, here in Australia, I just don't think we have that level of attire as much anymore. So generally it's black tie. And then from there, the next sort of jump down is cocktail from black tie. Some people say semi-formal. You can throw a lot of words in between and add subcategories, but just to keep it simple, it would go white tie, black tie, cocktail, and then casual. There are those elements between, which is where, as I was saying before, we sit with our clients and help verbalize what that would be. Semi-formal, casual cocktail, formal cocktail, black tie, and black tie optional. There's a lot of things you can put in and words you can use to describe to help bring what you want to life.
Stephen, what are you noticing at the moment? What are the trends that you're seeing come through that you think are great?
That term trend is really interesting because in my world, the trends that I generally see are more so seasonal than trends. I'll call them seasonal trends than actual trends because in the made to measure world, a lot of the things we create, which is a big part of Oscar Hunt in general, we like to make things that are timeless. So yes, it would be trendy for an autumn wedding or trendy for a summer wedding, but it's not going to be in this year, out next year. So that's where we're really careful with what we design so that it isn't something that right now is trendy, but in 6 months' time, 12 months' time.
You look back at your photos and and you're horrified.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
right.
great.
Exactly. You know, we don't want a repeat of the 70s with the flared trousers and
People do,
that
Stephen.
sort of thing.
Some people do.
Yeah, I look, and totally up to them, and I'm all for it as well. I'm wearing a sage green bubbly suit, so I can't really talk. But yeah, I think what I've seen of recent, especially again here in Australia, because we get some really beautiful seasons, and they're quite true to the season as well. So winter's, you know, quite grey, can be pretty wet, but a lot of the grass is really green. It's really beautiful. And then our autumns are quite warm. Everything's got that beautiful sort of autumny tones coming through. So in autumn, I see a lot more of that orange linen coming to life. And then in spring, I get people doing a couple of more fun things. Like recently did a really beautiful, this is called It's a wool that is infused with jade.
What?
Real jade. I know, really cool. Dormez is a French mill that do this. It's incredible fabric, very luxurious, very, very cool. Plays with light like you wouldn't believe, but it's like a very dark green suit that we made. And this couple was getting married in New Zealand in the Alps on a hill covered in snow. So it's like this picturesque sort of thing. And that was really cool. And then, winter is typically where I see a bit more of the black ties coming to life, a little bit heavier of the fabric, that sort of more traditional winter wedding style, black and white. And then, summer's actually pretty fun because we get really hot here. So I get a bit of everything, and I've done some pretty cool things of recent.
Are we talking colours? What are we talking?
Yeah. It's some really cool colors. Like this particular sage green that I'm wearing is something that was really popular over summer for not just wedding suits as well, actually just everyday sort of work suits. People are getting a bit more comfortable wearing out of the norm of that, navy gray, which is really cool. Yeah. And then the velvet jackets, every which way you can imagine a color of a velvet jacket, especially in those sort of winter, spring time. Oh, they're so much fun. So much fun to do. And if I could line up all the guys, we'd have a beautiful rainbow of velvet jackets, which I think looks stunning.
Yeah. Okay, just off the top of your head, I know you don't have these numbers there, but
No, you're right.
percentage of bow tie to long tie to no tie.
I reckon it's probably 80% bow ties, not necessarily a black bow tie, but just bow ties in general. Because I think it just adds a little bit more, I'll use the term again, formality, because he might not necessarily wear a bow tie all the time. And
I don't know many people who do. My husband doesn't go, I need to go out and get milk. I'll pop on a bow tie.
I'll pop on a bow tie. Where's my coat? Bow ties are definitely more common for weddings, I find. And then to be honest, the next one is probably a split, like 10% each of no tie and a necktie. And again, the no tie I tend to see more during the warmer months for people doing a bit more of those rustic style or a beach wedding or just in general because it's warmer. They don't really want to wear a tie. And then necktie, every now and then I get a couple, but it's not as common for a wedding.
I guess we should be telling our northern neighbours as well, summer for us, a cold day is 30 degrees.
Yeah, it's pretty warm. Celsius.
Yes, Celsius, exactly. And we're looking up to 45-ish. So just to put it into context. And then talk to me about like plain shirts versus do you do printed shirts?
For a wedding, not as much. What I like to educate the grooms on when it comes to designing their outfit is there's generally one key thing that's like the showpiece for the outfit. So as an example, for me, the texture of my suit is like a really sort of bubbly seersucker suit, which is cool. But that's the statement for my suit is the texture. If we're doing a burnt orange linen suit, it's sort of a combo between the color and the texture. So the suit itself is the statement piece. But then for some other guys who really like colorful shirts, we might do a very simple plain navy suit or a flat color suit. And then the shirt is the statement piece. The tie can also be the statement piece. It's good to have one point of focus because otherwise if you do a suit that's, crazily textured with a crazy pattern and then a crazy shirt, it's a lot. It's a lot. And your eyes don't know quite where to look. So it's a really fun sort of balancing act. Otherwise, it can just look like a hot mess.
Okay. So we don't want to look like a sideshow clown.
Correct.
Get it. If you had a sweary, chocolate-addicted, wine-sipping fairy godmother who could help you with your wedding planning, what would you wish for? Perhaps no more waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wondering what you've forgotten, or fretting about your RSVPs. Maybe no more spreadsheets or post-it notes or endless to-do lists. Well, I can help you with all of that. Websites is an Australian wedding website builder, guest management software, and wedding project planner all in one. Why is this such a game changer for you? Well, imagine everything to do with your wedding being in one place, updated in real time in the cloud, shareable to anyone else that's helping you, password protected for your guests, with notifications to tell you what needs to be done next and by when. It's amazing, right? I love how easy Websites is to set up and use, and how there are no ads on the platform yelling at you to spend more money on your wedding. To get started on your very own free wedding website, just head to wedsites.com. That's WEDSITES.com, and enter the code UNBRIDELYPOD, that's Unbridely POD, to get 10% off their paid planning tools. The link is in the show notes. What about, talk to me about socks, Stephen. Where did socks go?
So yeah, I think this is a fun one again. I love sock. I love fancy socks too. So I'm the sort of guy that'll wear like a flat navy suit and then have the most colourful, almost peacocking socks that you could imagine. But then again, you know, if I'm wearing a black tie suit, I'll wear long black woolen socks. So I definitely think there's a time and a place with socks. And, you know, some guys love the no-show socks. They just like the look of having no socks with loafers or, you know, something a bit more relaxed and casual, or boat shoes or yacht shoes. But I definitely think depending on the outfit that's being put together, that sort of determines if you should wear socks or not. You know, if someone wants to wear a black tie suit and have their ankles showing with a shorter cut pair of pants, like, I'm happy to do it. Because again, it sort of falls back on what is typical, because there's my version of typical is different to someone else's version of typical. So it's very much up to the end user and what they want to sort of put together and show. But I like sock.
People are showing ankles, Stephen.
Some people, if you got a good set of ankles, tell you what.
Okay. So ankles or no ankles, again, it's coming down to the personality and it's coming down to, the look. Okay. Stephen, can you tell us about the different ways that you can get suits?
Yeah, for sure. We'll start at the sort of very, very top. So bespoke is the most luxurious, I'll say, that you can get. So bespoke suits are built on the individual person that is getting the suit made. It's one guy making one suit. So with that, they build each panel on the person's body. So it involves at least like 4 to 6 sort of fittings, because the first fitting they take body measurement to then cut out these panels to make a pattern for your suit. And then they put these panels together to create a block. And then that block gets put on you, and then they adjust that block a couple of times to make it fit better.
Wow.
So everything's made from scratch.
So it's the suit equivalent of couture.
Essentially, yeah, correct.
Okay, so that's bespoke. Or how do you say it?
Bespoke. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I would imagine that is also the biggest investment.
100%, yeah. Especially depending on where it's made. Like if it was made in Australia, a proper bespoke suit, a lot of places unfortunately butcher the word bespoke. They just say we're bespoke and they're actually made to measure, or it's off the rack. So be careful. Bespoke in Australia for like a basic suit would probably start around that $3,000 to $5,000 mark. And the process takes anywhere between 4 to 6 months. So it's quite a long process. It's an investment as well. The suits are incredible though. Like it'll be incredible. The next sort of step is made to measure. And that's where Oscar Hunt sort of sits. The cool thing about made to measure, it's still a fully custom made suit. So it's made from scratch. It's cut from cloth. It's totally made up. We essentially skip a step in made to measure. So the step that we skip,
Say it again.
10 times. So the step that we skip is we have already created blocks. So those patterns and panels that I was talking about, we've created a whole range of suits in basically all the sizes. So we've already created that block that people then try on. We've already built these in a whole range of sizes. That's our Oscar Hunt cut of a suit. And then I'll put a jacket and trouser that is the closest to fitting you on you. And then we take our measurements off of that block. So then I'll pin it, adjust it based on your posture, based on how you stand, based on how your arms sit. There's about 73 different tools I can use to manipulate a suit to make it fit better. The quality is incredible. Like the quality of a bespoke suit and a made to measure suit are actually very much on par. There's a lot of technology involved in made to measure as well. There's, everything's laser cut. It's very precise, very sustainable because of that as well. There's not as much wastage because everything is measured out. We take those measurements and we've then created a pattern for you in our software to then get your suit made. So rather than cutting each panel out, putting it together, then pulling it apart again to adjust it, we would have already done those first round of adjustments before we cut the suit out.
Right. So that's the shortcut there.
Yeah. That's the big step that we skip. You're getting a fully custom made suit, extremely high quality build with really, really good fabrics, but the turnaround time is a fair bit less.
How much less, Stephen?
For Oscar Hunt, it's about 4 to 6 weeks.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Bespoke was 4 to 6 months.
And then made to measure is about 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah. We'll push it out to 8 during busy times. So, but even then, it's still really, really quick in comparison. And the quality is incredible. I'll be as bold to say it's as good of a fit as a bespoke suit, but don't quote me on that.
Ooh, controversial.
Controversial.
Okay. So bespoke, made to measure, and then off the rack.
We'll say off the rack / off the rack tailored suit. Essentially, you're buying something that's already been made and then you can take it to a tailor and they can adjust it. Again, there's only so much you can adjust to an already constructed suit without pulling it apart and putting it back together again. Off the rack's great. Like I said, if you find a suit brand that fits you really, really well, but yeah, it can be a bit of a challenge.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing unless you have a standard model's body, it would be really difficult.
Yeah, very much so. I used to be pretty athletic, but I still struggled because my body shape's different to what is designed and what the off-the-rack sort of models are designed for.
What should an engaged person be looking for in a great suit?
Yeah, I think probably the most important thing is the fit, whether it be getting it custom made or whether it be off the rack. If you're lucky enough to have a suit fit perfectly off the rack, mate, that's awesome. You've saved yourself a buck. But yeah, I think my number one thing is understanding what the vision is and what you want to bring to life. And it's as simple as scrolling through social media, print screening a whole bunch of suits that you like the look of, and then go back to them. And then you almost do a compare the pair. And eventually you'll get that number down. So you say, do I like this one or this one better? I like this one better. Okay, cool. Then I'll compare this one with the next photo. Which one do I like better? And you sort of see you're putting together a theme from that. And then from that, you can really then, okay, cool. That's the sort of look I'm going for. And then you come to have a chat with someone like me and we can help bring your individualized image of what you've sort of brought together to life. The most important thing, you can have a $500 suit, you can have a $5,000 suit. If it fits great, it's going to look incredible. If it fits pretty bad, even if it's a $5,000 suit, it won't look like a $5,000 suit. So the fit is so, so important, even more so than the fabric, to be honest. Yeah, because you can have, like I said, a cheap suit fit incredibly well and it'll look like a $5,000 suit. But if you have a $5,000 suit that doesn't fit well, it'll look like a $200 suit.
Okay, so number one, find your style.
Yeah.
Number two, get a great fit.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the importance of material.
Material in my world is extremely important because that's what we base all of our pricing on. So it's the quality of the fabric. In saying that though, one thing I'm really proud of with Oscar Hunt is even our entry-level fabrics are good quality. So we started good and then just go to ridiculously incredible. There's a fabric for everyone. Our suits start at that $1,000 mark and then sort of most popular wedding groom's suit, about $2,500. You could tell if I put two suits together, an entry suit and that $2,500 suit together, you'll look and feel it. Just the quality of the wool feels so much nicer. It'll wear a little bit better as well over time. Again, because our suits are constructed by the same tailors, which is great. The quality of the actual build of the suit is perfect along the entire spectrum of our suits. So that's something that's already really great. But, if you put high quality ingredients with a high quality build together, you get a really high quality suit.
Let's talk about the other people at the wedding who might be wearing suits. So traditionally, a groom and his groomsmen, but sometimes one of the bridesmaids might be wearing a suit or one of the groom's wedding party might be a female or whatever the case may be, do all the wedding party need to wear the same suit? Is that still a thing?
I love this question. No, not at all. I, again, like to come back to, you can do whatever you want. It's your wedding. When we do a full wedding party, I'll say to people, if you want them to match, make sure they match. So get the exact same fabric, exact same style, exact same design, make sure everything matches. Because if you try and match it and it's that little bit off, that would be just like an irk for the whole day. But at the same time, the only person that's really going to care about that the most is going to be you. So that's something else I like to sort of put out to people. Like, no one's going to be looking at the wedding party and be like, oh, they don't match. You're the only one that's going to know. One that I do a lot of is the groom will look slightly different to the rest of the wedding party. Two things that sort of differentiate the groom to the groomsman is more than enough. And to be honest, if people don't know you're the groom, they probably shouldn't be at your wedding. And then everyone looks absolutely different. So for example, I think this wedding we did navy. They could pick a navy fabric. I had one guy in linen. I had one guy in wool.
Stephen, what's your best advice for this poor person out there who's really struggling to find their wedding look?
My advice is don't try and reinvent the wheel. Look at social media. There's so much content out there that can give you inspiration. There are so many great menswear brands or suiting brands that have so much content. And my next thing would be go speak to someone who does it for a living. You know, if you're really struggling and you can't pick between a few different looks, go chat to your local tailor. They're professionals. They know what they're doing. That's what we do. You know, one of my favorite things is that initial consultation with people, because suit fitting is very systematic. It's very technical, black and white. Whereas that creative aspect of designing the suit and helping bring the look that you want to life. That's why a lot of us do what we do, is we love that creative aspect of it because we can have fun with it.
Stephen, a lot of brides ask me, how does my groom know what sort of suit to get when he doesn't know what I'm wearing and we want to look like cohesive?
Again, that's sort of where speaking to someone like me really, really helps. One of my favorite questions I generally ask is where they're getting their dress from, because that really helps me to understand, okay, if you're getting it from Kalesh, Couture Love Madness, or one of these local dressmakers we have in Adelaide, you can sort of categorize what the wedding is going to be like based on the fact they're getting their dress from this dressmaker, because each dressmaker has their own vibe. And then you pair that with the venue, with the time of year. It's like a puzzle that you're sort of putting together. But a lot of the time, more often than not, the fiance or partner generally comes in for that initial consultation. They can show me pictures of the dress or the other suit or whatever it is.
Did you have anything that we missed?
I'd probably say don't be afraid is probably my biggest thing, because a lot of people get so worked up on what everything's going to look like. And the question I always get is, what does everyone else do? And my response to that is, why does that matter? So, you know, just be true to yourself, be authentic. And if you're struggling, come over chat with someone who knows what they're doing.
So good. Stephen, where can people find you?
Yeah, for sure. So Oscar Hunt here in Adelaide. We're at Norwood. We're in a beautiful heritage terrace. In Melbourne, we're in Hardware Lane. So in the middle of the CBD, very Melbourne. Sydney, we're at the Strand Arcade. And then Gold Coast, we've got a beautiful little pop-up at the moment, which will eventually grow into a full showroom. And then in Brisbane, we're in Fortitude Valley. So because Oscar Hunt is one big sort of happy family, I've got a groom here in Adelaide. I could go send the details of a groomsman that's in Melbourne. We can design all the groomsmen's outfits here in Adelaide and then just send the details to our guys in Melbourne. They could fit him, get him measured, get all of this stuff done there. We have fitting partners all over the world as well that use our made-to-measure platform.
That's brilliant, Stephen. Thank you so much for your time and for your expertise. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.